How's it going? Dave from Comic Book Investments. So in this video, we're going to look at a tier list on what is the best investment in Wolverine comic books. So if you're a collector of Wolverine and you want to know what the tier list, like what's the best one, and then we'll work our way down. Now there's obviously a ton of Wolverine comic books and not everything's going to be on this list, but this is some of the best ones to get as far as investable or just if you're trying to collect the best Wolverine comic books there is. And also this list, the way I categorize this, it's not just based off of, oh, this one grew by X% throughout the year and this one barely grew at all, like a return on your investment. That's not how I'm doing it. There's multiple factors to go into this thing. The factors I use is called slider. Basically, it's stable. Is it stable? Long-term? Is it investable? Is it desired? And then what is the risk reward associated with that? And that's how I came up with this list. So something like stable. Well, basically not a modern comic book. A modern comic book isn't really stable because it hasn't had a long enough time to see where it's going. And a lot of these modern comic books, I've done videos on them, sky high, and then all of a sudden they're nothing, the next day, worthless. Long term, what is its 5 to 10 year growth plan? Like, where's it going to be in 5 to 10 years? Is it going to be something that's gaining money? Is it something that's going to kind of be about the same, or is it something that's going to lose money in the next 5 to 10 years? Also, investables. So investable ones are it's like keys, the age of the comic book, the rarity, the grade. You have to factor those things in as well. Desired as well for the D. Is this something people want? Is this what people want to get in their collection? Is this something they want to go after? And then risk reward, what is basically the return on your investment? Is it going to be a good one? Or is it going to be a bad one? So those are the kind of factors I use to determine this. Now, if you've never seen a tier list before, S is the top. It means superb or super. That is the best tier. Then, A, B, C, D, E, F. You know how to do that. So let's jump into it. Let's see what's the first one. X-Men number 11. Now, this is the second printing, silver edition. This is pretty rare, but it has a really cool cover that has been used multiple times as Wolverine's been all over the place by Jim Lee. So, great cover, very desired. This has gone up by 256% in the last 5 years, and I'm going off of a 9.8. All these will be off of a 9.8. So in the last 5 years, it's been up 256%. This is a very good book to get, but again, it's not the best and it doesn't follow in all the things. For example, return on your investment, like in long term, in the next 5 to 10 years, I don't see this as like a massive gainer in the next 5 to 10 years. Yes, it's gained a lot recently over the last 5 years, but overall, I don't see it. It's also not as desired as some of these other Wolverine comic books on here. So these F tiers are going to have, either a lot going on that not hitting the slider scale, or they're just going to have, some good ones, but most of them not so good. All right, next we got on the list is Wolverine 10. This is Sabretooth versus Wolverine. This is an earlier Wolverine in his solo series, but again, this has only gone up 33%. People consider it a key in his series, but it's not like a major key, no real first appearances. Next we got is the variant of Wolverine 145. Now, variant covers I tend not to put on these lists because there's a lot of unknowns. That's why there's not that many variants on this list. There will be a few, though. These are the top variants if you're collecting Wolverine to get. Now, there's also even a more rare variant of the 145, which is basically an air where the normal cover A of this has Wolverine with his claws coming out, and it's supposed to be like this silver foil, but it didn't get put on, and so it's called kind of like an air where it's just like all white because they didn't put it on. Those are extremely rare. I'm not going to put that on this list because of how rare it is. But this, if you're checking out Wolverine variants, this is a pretty good variant to get. All right, next we got Wolverine 27. This is a pretty iconic cover. It was also the cover to his Nintendo game back in whenever that came out, and I've seen this image multiple times all over the place. Very cool cover. So that's on this list. This has only gone up 44% in the past 5 years. Then next we got the Splat variant cover. This has gone up 86%. And again, variant covers are going to be towards the bottom of this list. But if you're going for Wolverine variants, this is a good one to get. And then last, Origins 10. This is the retail incentive variant. And this has only gone up 9%. It kind of peaked for a little bit and it's gone down. Next, we got the E tier. So let's go up to E tier. First one on the list for the E tier is What If 31. This is what if Wolverine killed the Hulk. Now, obviously that can't happen because we all know Hulk is strongest there is. So again, this is fake. It's not in the real Marvel universe. But this has gone up 257%. This is kind of a callback to when they first battled, so people kind of like that. Next we got on the list is Marvel Comics Presents #1. So not only do we got a really cool Wolverine cover, but this is also the start of Marvel Comics Presents, which was a long series during the 80s and 90s. This one has gone up 180% over the next 5 years. Now, do I see this doing the same over the next 5 years, another 150, 200%? Probably not likely. That's why it's towards the bottom of this list. All right, next we got up X-Men 141, Days of Future Past. Now, this is not just a sole Wolverine key, but it's definitely a bigger key, but it is the Days of Future Past. This one has gone up 265% over the last 5 years. This is a very classic story, so I imagine this will probably hit not 265% over the next 5 years, but I think this will continue to rise over time. I don't see this one going down. Next we got up is X-Men number 25. This is the basically the white variant, and this is the one where Magneto takes out all of his adamantium. Still pretty desired. It went up 185%. Next we got one that I'm sure you guys don't know too much about, and that is Foom number 2. Now, Foom number 2 is basically put out by Marvel, but it is like a fanzine thing to give back to the fans. Now, probably what's so special about this Wolverine-wise? Well, in this I believe is 1973, so a year before Wolverine came out in Hulk 181, they had a contest. And in the contest, kids, adults could write in and draw a character that they liked. And one of the people drew this character called Wolverine. Now, this character had healing factor. It also had some kind of metal skeleton and was on a table injected with stuff. So a lot of people assume that this is kind of inspiration to the actual Wolverine character. Whether it's true or not, don't know. But in any case, this is kind of, the reason why this is not higher is it's actually pretty expensive, but the reason why it's not higher on the list is because it's kind of more of like an unknown and a niche thing for Wolverine collectors, but this has gone up 238%. All right, now we're moving on to the D tier. The D tier, first up is we got Wolverine #1 in his solo series. Not much to say about this other than this is the start of a solo series. This is up 130% over the last 5 years. This is a book that will continue to grow over time. The reason why it's not higher on this list is because there's just better keys to be on this list. Marvel Comics Presents number 72. This is the first kind of origin of Wolverine and the Weapon X program and all that kind of stuff. So we get to know more about Wolverine. This has gone up 100%. In the Marvel Comics Presents, this is a pretty big key in that run, and this is pretty desired. Next we got is Uncanny X-Men 212. This is the first time Wolverine and Sabretooth battle. So this is the start of their long history of battling, and this one has gone up 326%, so quite a bit. I imagine this one will continue to grow as well. Next we got Wolverine number 8. This one's gone up 374%. Do I see this book continuing to grow at 374% in the next 5 years? No, I don't. Well, I can see it continue to rise. Yes, I do. This is a very cool cover that a lot of people like. Other than that, not too much as in like first appearances and things like that. Now we are moving on to the C tier. Now competition gets a little more tight. All right, we got Wolverine Limited #1. This is the first time he was in a solo series. Now, this one only lasted about 4 issues. So they kind of tried it out. Now, obviously, he was appearing in X-Men and, different things here and there. But this was his first solo series, kind of like a tryout. And this one has got up 140%. Next we got is then Hulk 340. Very classic cover. This has been homaged countless times by Todd McFarlane. And this has gone up 550% over the last 5 years. Again, this is a 9.8, 550%. Next we got is X-Men 133. This is the first solo series of Wolverine. And this has been up 480%. If you're collecting Wolverine stuff, you got to get his first solo issue of Wolverine in X-Men. And then this will be our last variant on this list. And that, of course, is Wolverine #1 by J. Scott Campbell. This is a very, very expensive variant cover. And now it's only been up 71%. And it is really expensive. But the reason why it's on this list all the way up at C tier is the simple fact that when you're trying to collect the best Wolverine stuff, and you want the best variant of Wolverine, you're going to be getting this one. This is the best variant of Wolverine to get, as in highly desired. So desirability, really high for this book. Really, really high. Long term, I don't really see this going down, but I don't really see it massively going up because it's already really expensive. You're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. So to go up 100%, now you're talking like $10,000 or so. So I don't really see that happening. But again, the risk reward I feel is low for this book because it's been out for so long and it's very stable. So that's another thing. It's got stable, and the risk reward, the return on investment, maybe not the best, but I don't see it going down, which is good. So you don't really want to lose money. And that's the problem with some books. It's kind of risky. So that's where it's on all the way up at C tier. And now we move on to B tier. And the first one we got is X-Men 94. Now this has been up 248%. This is the first, it's multiple keys. This is the first new X-Men they begin, second appearance of all of them. And technically it's Wolverine's like 4th appearance, but the other appearances were kind of cameos. So it's however you want, a 3rd, 4th appearance, something like that along the lines of that. Very big key in the X-Men and the Wolverine era. And it checks most of the boxes. Let's see, stable, yes, it's going to be stable. You're not going to see wild swings. Long-term, 5 to 10 year growth, yes, it definitely has 5 to 10 year growth on it. Investable, yes, this is an investable one. You could pretty much get this in any grade range, all the way down to a 2.0, all the way up to 9.8. It's still good. It's older, it's got going. It's desired, yes, desirability, and risk reward. I don't see it as very risky play, so therefore it's good. Next we got Hulk 182. Now this is the 3rd appearance. He was just in a cameo, but it is his 3rd appearance. You got the whole Hulk run, 180, 181, and 182, and this one's been up 165%. Now we move on to the A tier. First one on the A tier, giant size X-Men #1. This is up 368% over the last 5 years as a 9.8. Not only do you got his full 2nd appearance of Wolverine, but then you got all the first appearances in the new X-Men line, Colossus, Nightcrawler, Storm, Thunderbird. It's the beginning of the new X-Men, then they poured over to X-Men 94. I mean, this checks every box it checks. And then the last one for the A tier is Hulk 180. This is technically Wolverine's very first appearance as a cameo in the back of the book. This has been up 288%, checks all the boxes. And then finally for our S tier, you know what it was the whole time. What else could it be? You're collecting Wolverine. What's the best one to get? It's Hulk 181. That was the best one to get. It checks every single box. It's been up 626% over the last 5 years. Even though most of the comics have slumped down since the comic boom, they've come down. And a lot of even Hulk 181s have dropped a lot. Not as much as other books, but a little bit. This one just hit a record of almost $140,000 for a 9.8, just sold recently, a few days ago, $140,000 for a 9.8. This is the top book you can get. If you're collecting Wolverine, this is a must get. Stable, yes, it's definitely very, very stable. Obviously, you're gonna have ebbs and flows, but overall, you need this book. Long-term, 5 to 10 year growth, yes, 100%. This is going up in the next 5 to 10 years. Investable, yes, it is. It's a key. You know, it's older. The grade range, you can get this in any grade range, and it's investable. So that's good. Desired, 100%. This is the most desired Wolverine comic book there is. And then risk reward, it's not risky. This is not a risky play at all. Even if you were the person that buy that Hulk 181 at a 9.8 for 140,000, I think you're fine in the long run. The next 5-10 years, it will be worth more. So there's at no point can you buy a Hulk 181 and then in the next 5-10 years will you have lost money on that book, unless the world has come to an end. But you're good. This is the best book. That'll be it for this list. I hope you like this kind of list. Let me know in the comments below if there's some book that you thought should be on this list. Let me know if you even like these lists. I can do more of these lists if you found these helpful. And if you're a Wolverine collector, this is how you should go down the list. You should start with the S and then move your way down. And that's how, if you want a nice, great Wolverine collection, these are the top books. Have a great day.